I want to rewind a little bit and ask you, why do you think the mainstream medical community, I guess, if you will, why it seems like these things should be like, you go to the first doctor you go to should be able to do some of these things, right? But they don't. And so I'm just like, I'm kind of curious, like, what you think about, like, why isn't mainstream medical able to help us with some of these things?
It goes back to the concept, we don't know what we don't know. And so it's not, we really can't blame doctors for not, I'm very passionate about this because it's affected my own life. It's also affected my family members' lives. I've lost loved ones to misdiagnoses, to prescribing medication that was dangerous for the individual. Like my grandfather, they gave him a dose of Seroquel, shut his kidneys down after surviving 3 brain surgeries. So like this thing has really affected my life. My grandmother's been on medication with diabetes and has been on like 10, 12 medications for like the last 30 years. And in my head, it's like, it aggravates me because if we have an illness or a problem, we should have professionals that are helping to solve the problem. Someone shouldn't be suffering with something like diabetes, which is a food-related illness, for 30 years. That just should not be the case. And it's very hard because it's not that they're wrong, it's just that their training they've received is literally like, well, you have this symptom, so this medication does this. And so they're only looking from a symptom perspective, and everything is segmented in conventional medicine. There's a specialist for this, and there's specialists for that. And we do need specialists, but we do need training on how all of those things are connected. It's the same thing like your car. Like, yeah, you do have a tire specialist and a mechanic, but they're well trained with the entire car, the entire system. It's not like you're going to have a specialist for tires, a specialist for door handles, a specialist for the rip in the seat. It's like, once you start doing that, you make it way more complex. And so I think that's where the biggest problem comes from, is that we're chasing symptoms and we're not getting to the root cause. So if there was more training in actual physiology, and that's what functional medicine is based on, like, how does the actual human body work? What nutrients do what organs need certain nutrients? And once you understand that blueprint, it's literally sort of a mathematical equation from there. Okay, this thing's out of place. This is obviously what needs to be brought in. So I do think we can come to a time where conventional medicine is sort of being more open to these types of approaches, because doctors have very good hearts. Like, they didn't go through 8 years or more of medical school and take out all those loans and all that stuff because they want to hurt people. That wasn't the case. But what was the case is they probably received different training. Most doctors received less than a week's worth of nutrition training during that entire 8-year program, which nutrition should be the first thing, because the reason we eat food is to get nutrients into the body. And so if we understand that, we can help people a lot better. So that's sort of my personal opinion on things. It's like, we can be mad at the medical system, but it's not really something to be mad at, because they're just trained a different way. So their belief system's slightly different. And that's why it's our job as functional medicine practitioners to share the message out here. Like, hey, there's actual people in the world that are healing very serious diseases and illnesses through food, through clinical grade supplements, through regular blood tests. Like, people are having amazing results. So it is proven that this works.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it makes me think about like everything is always broken down into little parts, kind of like what you were saying. And it's like that reductionist type mindset, where even I've actually read things that showed that, like, if you have a study and you're trying to get this study funded, if it's not a reductionist study where they're breaking things down into the tiniest little parts they possibly can, then they can't really get the funding. They're not getting backed by science. They're not able to actually study these certain things that would lead to, like, the whole picture, like what you're talking about. The whole body is not all these little parts. It is little parts put together, but it's really all one whole thing, right? So it's really interesting, and it's kind of do you think there's incentives? Like, do you think there's an incentive problem with as well? Because, you look at the pharmaceutical companies, and they're heavily tied in with mainstream medical. And so, maybe maybe that makes things a little bit more cloudy and tough too. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the hospitals, funding is a big issue. Profit is a big issue. The current system that we have in conventional medicine is it's sort of backwards. It's like the whole premise is someone comes in, you sort of keep them sick, but you keep them healthy enough that they're not dying. But you keep them sick long enough so like someone should not need to be on medication for 30 years. That we suck at chronic illness in this country. If someone gets into a car accident and they're about to lose their arm or their leg, yes, we need hospitals. You have to go to an ER. We have an amazing system for that. In regard to chronic illness, watching people suffer sucks. Like no one should be on medication long term. Medication should be used the way it was invented originally. Is well, okay, there's this problem. We need this type of strong medicine to remedy the problem, and then voila, the issues are resolved. The person's feeling a lot better. There's no more chronic illness. But in this country, it's like because of miseducation, and you also have like it's not only the pharmaceutical companies. You also have conventional meat operations. You have the food industry. You have all these conglomerates that are here to make as much profit as possible. Because if that was not the case, they would not be putting toxic shit into our food and putting it on shelves in stores. That would not be the case. So they are definitely profit driven, and that is the only thing they're after. Because if they were health driven or people driven, they would not put poison into the food that we're eating. So that is a huge problem. And why I'm so passionate about it is because I've been a victim of this myself. I've went through this myself. And being raised through different processed foods and different things, like it just made my health so bad. It took me years and years and years to battle to earn my health back. Whereas health, I feel, should be a given. Like we should earn our health, but it should be something we live with every day. We feel every day. No one should have to suffer, especially out of ignorance. So that's something I definitely have a strong stance on.
Hey, free thinker. This human life is more amazing than we give credit for. The pain, the fun, the creativity, the mistakes, and the connected, shared experiences. We are here to expand. Let's do it together.